Let's check in on the Sunshine State. You got Florida State, you got Florida, you got Miami. And why is this continuing to be a conversation across the college football public? One word: recruiting. It's a talent hotbed in the state of Florida. In terms of the top players in the country ranked by us here on On3, of the top 50 players, 9 of them from the Sunshine State. That's just the top 50. There's a lot of big-time ballers that reside in that state. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are able to be the top dog in the state of Florida, it doesn't hurt your efforts in acquiring talent. And talent acquisition, name of the game in college football. X's and O's are important, but the Jimmies and the Joes, that can make all the difference for you. So I just want to take a pulse of these top 3 programs within Florida. UCF is joining the party here pretty soon. They're going to be in the Big 12. That'll be a whole lot of fun, and then it'll just be a free-for-all in terms of Power 5 teams in the state of Florida. But I want to focus on the Big 3, Florida, Miami, and Florida State. What is the pulse right now across those programs? We'll start with Florida. I think the pulse for Florida, for me, is on the edge of your seat, on edge sort of energy, if you will, within that fan base, because you have currently the number 12 recruiting class, which is up 8 spots from 20, so that's good, but you're 5th in the SEC and you're behind Miami. You took Graham Mertz from the transfer portal at quarterback to replace AR. There were some other guys that were out there that certain portions of your fan base, myself included, thought could be a better option for you. Devin Leary being one of them, Austin Reed being one of them. Now, how involved is Florida with any of those guys? I don't know. But you got Graham Mertz. So there's a little bit of a feeling of like, was he the best we could get? Is he the guy to get us to where we expect to go here at Florida? And Billy Napier and his MO and what he has brought to the table so far feels a little bit like it wasn't what you had expected. What do I mean by that? We all saw the team picture. Tons of blue polos. You hear the term Billy's Army being thrown out there. It's pretty funny. I'm not going to lie to you. But all those blue polos were brought to Gainesville to bring top talent with them, to contribute to the recruiting efforts, the talent acquisition efforts. And you're saying, okay, that's great, but we're not even in the top 10. We're 5th in the SEC. We brought Graham Mertz in. He could be great, but was that the best quarterback we could acquire? So you're saying we thought we were getting a head coach who specialized in talent acquisition, and we're left with a number 12 recruiting class. What's going on here? That's why there's a little bit of an edge here. Because last year for Florida, it was 6 and 7. We'll talk more about that. I think that has to bake a little bit. But that's why there's a little bit of the edge of the seat feel. So here's the optimism. Like I was saying a second ago, I don't think this is an accurate depiction of Billy Napier's Florida Gators. First reason being, year one, a lot of what it is what you inherit. Like what you saw on the field last year from Florida, yes, the culture is being installed, and yes, there was his handprint on it a little bit from an X and O standpoint, but primarily, more than primarily, it was Dan Mullen's Florida Gators, a team that went 6 and 7 in 2021. People talk about TCU and how good they were in playing for a national title in year one under Sonny Dykes. That's extremely impressive, but Sonny Dykes just sort of fine-tuned a roster, already had a lot of talent. Quentin Johnston wasn't brought there by Sonny Dykes. Max Duggan wasn't brought there by Sonny Dykes. And I'm not here to dunk on Sonny Dykes and TCU. I'm just saying all first-year opportunities are created equal, if you catch my drift. So what you saw last year, I don't believe is an accurate depiction of Billy Napier's Florida. The second piece, and this might be honestly the most telling, the whole Jaden Rashada situation. I think it just shows that it's not yet his operation, even more so. The first piece is, more than likely, that was a situation that you probably would blame the NIL powers that be as opposed to Billy Napier. Do you really believe that Billy Napier is in there negotiating, saying, you know what? I think $13 million is the number we should go with. $13 million, make it happen. Do we really believe that was the case? Which is more likely, Billy Napier spearheaded that, or the powers that be in the NIL space? The second, either way that you answer that first question, them not being able to make good on that $13 million, to have a contract lined out and signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours, wait, actually, pause, reverse, all that, I think that just shows what he was armed with and the resources he's dealing with now. It's a process. It's a thing that just kind of has to bake a little bit at Florida. So I understand the frustrations with the talent acquisition and what you saw on the field, but I truly believe this is not yet Billy Napier's Gator football team. I think it's going to be. You hope and you pray that it's going to be and that he will get all that he needs to succeed. But all first years were not created equal. And that's how I feel about Billy Napier. That's how I feel about Florida. Sit tight for just a little bit longer. It's okay to have your on-edge sort of energy. Sit tight just a little bit longer. If you have not yet subscribed, would love to have you a part of this community. So many of y'all have helped us cultivate a really special college football show, yes, but community even more so. And so we're glad to have y'all here. If you have subscribed, and if you haven't, no time like the present. Would love to have you all along for the ride. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel. It just equips us to do more of what you want to see by hearing from y'all there. We're not always live, obviously, but when we're not live, you can reach me there. We can do content that y'all want to see and have a good interaction there. Second team we got to talk about within the great state of Florida, the Miami Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. The pulse for me there is New Year's juice, like new year, new me, New Year's juice. And you know what I mean by that. Whenever you start the new year, the ball drops, clock hits 0, January 1, there is always this feeling of optimism. At the same time, there is the understanding that there has to be some changes made internally. Like, hey, if I want to be healthier, guess what? I got to get a gym membership. I got to spend some money. I got to eat a little bit differently. I have to set new habits. There's an understanding there needs to be change, but there's excitement because of the new opportunity in the new year and the way this thing is headed. More on that in a second. The bad right now, the change that's needed is on the offensive side. There is a feeling around Josh Gattis that maybe there'll be a co-OC system next year, or people are going so far as to say maybe they just have him take another job. Like, there's a lot of theories out there. Regardless, the offense as a whole needs to improve. They scored 19 points a game last year. That is losing football. Not just bad football, that is losing football. 114th in the country is 19 points a game. That ain't good. Only 131 teams. I'm not saying anything that y'all don't already know. As Miami Hurricane fans, this is the bad. This is what needs to be changed. Now, here's the reason for optimism. Here is the excitement piece. First, you got a quarterback that's shown he can do it before. I have a hard time believing that Tyler Van Dyke just lost all his ability from 1 year in 2021 to 2022. I think he's got it under the hood. I think there's some things schematically and internally that need to be corrected to encourage that optimism. Recruiting really well. You brought Mario Cristobal there to flip things around. It's taken a little bit of time, as these things sometimes do, more often than not do. Recruiting is tail off, man. I mean, number 6 class in the country at the time of us being live right now. Perhaps more importantly, number 1 class in the ACC. That's right, ahead of Clemson. Number 1 class, state of Florida. So they're going into different living rooms with a losing record, having not made a bowl game, and getting recruits over Florida State. Some of that could be NIL fueled. I don't think that's a far-fetched observation based on what they've done and how much John Ruiz has been aggressive in that space. But regardless, talent acquisition, we keep saying it. If that's the name of the game, Miami is doing a good job in that space. So you're telling me we're getting some ingredients here to cook with. We're getting some ingredients here where we can make some exciting things happen. So sit tight. There's cause for optimism. There's cause for excitement, but you understand what has to be changed. Something has to be tinkered with. Whether it's that starting lineup on offense, whether it is play calling responsibilities and how that's shared, or whether you bring in somebody else to co-OC, there's got to be some sort of solution there, because you can't stay the same in that field offensively and expect to get a different result. what do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That can't be how Miami lives. And I don't think that will be how Miami lives with Mario Cristobal running the show. Give it some time. I'm a believer in Super Mario, all right? Now, the third team here has, I think, the best opportunity. They're in a really special place, in my opinion, in terms of this whole state of Florida hierarchy. The feeling around Florida State is the stage is set. The stage is set. Everything that we want to accomplish has built up to year 4 under Mike Norvell. Let's do it now. I said it in a previous segment. They've built this elite program, this elite weapon, this Death Star for the last 3 years. Year 4 is where you do some damage. Year 4 is where you beat Clemson. Year 4 is where you win the ACC and establish yourself for the second year in a row as the top dog in the state of Florida. If you go 4-0 from 2022 to 2023 between Florida and Miami, you can, I've said it before, establish yourself as, hey, come play for us. We beat Miami and we beat Florida. Right now, they have the number 19 class in the On3 team consensus recruiting rankings. If they have another good year, if they build on what they did last year, that's going to change. That will not stay the same. A college football playoff appearance would plant you on top of this state very, very firmly. And the reason why this is so important, to be the top program in a state with so much talent and just to be able to sell winning and development, that goes a long way. Because if you add some of the top talent from this state, that starts to widen the gap. You can do a lot with just putting a fence around the state of Florida and getting the top guys there. That can make you very, very elite nationally. So for Florida State, tremendous opportunity. You got Jordan Travis back. You got Jared Verse back. You've built to it now. Year 4, go cash in. The stage is set. Go put on a show. If you put on a show, a lot of individuals will want to attend, namely recruits. So I think right now they're poised to make a lot of noise within that state. Very, very excited to watch Florida State this coming year. But for Florida, it's on-edge energy. I wouldn't panic. I don't think it's Billy Napier's Florida program just yet, but they're a little bit on edge, which is understandable. For Miami, give it some time. Give it some time. The feeling is New Year's juice. Got some juice from a new year, turning the page a little bit. Last year was what it was. Got to have some changes. We understand that. Can't live the same lifestyle and expect to get healthier. But there's excitement because you're recruiting really well. And I truly believe I might be in the minority here. I think TVD has still got it. Just got to tinker with that and put him in position to succeed. And then for Florida State, like I just said, the stage is set. Time to put on a show. But whoever can establish dominance in the Sunshine State could be king of the hill and could be set up to do some really good things in the future. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.